So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody who has joined us. That's very nice, Wahida, that you're also here from India. Thank you very much for joining. And of course, I need to say a few welcoming words. First of all, I do hope that Alice and Theo soon come in, but so far we have as contributors Walapa from Thailand. Maybe you can show a hand, Walapa. I'll introduce you later, more in detail. Thank you. And then we have Hermann from Mexico. Can you show a hand? Thank you. Thank you. So, yeah, so we have quite a few countries out here already. We have India, we have China, we have Malaysia, we have Germany, Mexico, the Philippines, Thailand. Did I forget somebody? We have the UK with Portugal. So great. And we're still expecting some. I think some have had a little problem because they don't find the Zoom link in the PDF, but we'll have to see. If they still make it, they can come in at any time. The two from the United States, as far as I can see, are not here. They were supposed to start out. Hello, Krishnendu. Hello, Yasuyao. Hello, Christian. Sorry, Christian, wir können leider nicht keine Übersetzung machen. So it will all be in English. As Alice and Theo are not yet here, I would then start with Hermann, if that's okay. Hermann, I've known Hermann for about 15 years, and we're looking at ourselves as artists. And so I'm a farmer, but I look as farming as an art. And especially in these times where we're not even only doing farming as, working with the earth, the soil, but also it's a big social issue. How do we actually work together with others? How do those who eat our products get involved with us, and how do we support each other? So Hermann has worked a lot in this field over quite a long time, and he has worked in different countries, different continents. And may I ask you, Hermann, to start your sharing?
Yes. Yeah, hello everybody, Ni hao to China. I don't know to say it in the other languages. So I'm very happy to be here and to meet Walter again, because we lost each other for long years. So I know actually 3 of you in person, and I'm hosted in Mexico now because our coffee farmers, we work with coffee and coffee CSA. I will describe a bit more about this. So we found our coffee farmers, let's say by accident, in Mexico. This was not my plan, because I started this project in Brazil, and in Brazil I created a CSA network called CSA Brasil.org, and is, I think, only available in Portuguese. As Walter said, I'm an artist, I'm a sculptor. So this was my profession before I started with CSA. And I met, wow, now I see we have also a visitor from Brazil, Massa. Hello, Massa. Okay, so Brazil is also involved. And Massa, are you in Brazil or in Japan right now?
I live in Switzerland, in Donau.
So this is great. Then you can help me to translate one word in Japanese later on. Okay. If you can help me, I would be happy.
Yeah.
So as in sculpture, my question was, what is needed in art? Where is the avant-garde? I don't know if this word is understandable, avant-garde, but I think this is also English avant-garde. I don't know the English translation. Walter, is this okay, avant-garde?
That's
so
right,
where
avant-garde, yeah. Mhm.
Where is the need to work on art? And through this question, I met a German sculptor called Joseph Beuys. He died in the middle 80s. And my question to him was, how can I understand your work? He called it social sculpture. How can I understand it in a practical way? And with this question, he brought me to Rudolf Steiner. That's why I met also the anthroposophy. And this was an opening to many answers from my other questions in general. And so I was searching where can I find a living social sculpture and sculpture made by human being. This is a form of art where we are the material of the sculpture, and in the same moment we are the actors and the directors. So everybody is an artist in this social sculpture, and everybody can learn to be an artist. So I found a living social sculpture in Brazil called Monte Azul. This is an social work and slum work. Favela is the name in Portuguese. And there I learned a lot. I met Massa there, and we worked together. And but then my question was, it can't be that we only have one living project worldwide. And I was asking myself to open maybe my own social sculpture project, or search for something more. And then through this, I met CSA, Community Supported Agriculture. And I was totally inspired in this moment. And I opened in North Germany one of the first CSAs close to Buschberghof, Hamburg, south from this. And yeah, I was one of the active members, so called, or co-founders, I don't know. And for family reason, I moved to Brazil, and was starting directly my first CSA in Sao Paulo. And this was very quick, very successful. Not in the first year, nobody understood me, and nobody wanted to join. So finally, we started with 5 people. And in the end, we became to 400 families. And all the time, the mediums came, television, interviews, and I was invited in all over Brazil to talk about this CSA model. And I saw through speeches and to visit a farm, no CSA appeared. And I said, okay, we must bring the people to our place. And we started a training course about CSA, and we came in the end to 200 CSA projects. And now it is, well, it's developing. 200 for this big country is not that much. It's not like in USA, but it's already on a good direction. And so after working in this 4 or 5 years, I think there came the question, this is so beautiful what we are doing here. We get vegetable, we get eggs, we get milk, yogurt, sometimes a little bit of meat. So and what's about the other products? For instance, coffee. Is this also possible to do it with coffee in another direction, in another way, in another form of organizing? So then I I went to Germany. I was invited to speak about this project also in Germany, and I met in the Buschberghof. No, it was not in the Buschberghof. We met in the network, in the German network of CSA, and we had several workshops. And one workshop was also called "Is it possible to extend the idea of CSA to other products?" And I was sitting together with Wolfgang Strenz, who is also here in this group, and we were asking, is this also possible with coffee or with tea? And I said, wow, this is the second time I got this request from an official organ, let's say, or official network. And I said, okay, this should be my next step. And then I started to look for coffee farmers who wanted to start a CSA project, but especially with coffee, because coffee is not so easy to include in a normal CSA model farm, because it is so many steps in between. So it's a very specialized product. And I couldn't find any farmer in Brazil. And then I was again in Switzerland in the conference of the Goetheanum, and in two workshops we talked about, and I found coffee farmers from Mexico. So that's why we started in Mexico. And then the Mexican farmers, they said, wow, this is such a great idea to change the situation of the farmers, to change the idea of economy. You wouldn't bring this coffee by container boat. And I said, I never heard about an alternative. And he said, yeah, now start, let's say, sailing boats. So now we bring our coffee by sailing boat from Mexico to Hamburg. So through this, we can support also and better footprint in the how you say, in the waste of energy. So the wind bring the coffee to Hamburg, and this is why many people get to know our project. Our project called Teikei. Masan, how you say it in Japanese? Teikei.
Yeah, Teikei. This is a kind of a cooperation or network or helping for the farmer, or this kind of a system, but a network, so to say. It's Teikei.
Teikei. So this Teikei, when you translate it, means work together. And this is a very old concept in Japan, that the neighbors, friends come together and work out something what is needed. And I was almost collapsing when we went one of the first time to our farmers, because our farmers are indigenous people. And then I heard the people were saying, today weekend we have to go to Tokyo. So this is the same word, the same meaning, but is brought from, I don't know, 20,000 years ago, and their language really sounds more Japanese than Spanish. Spanish for them is also a foreign language. So Teikei was born already, and how could I met this word Teikei? Why do I call it Teikei? with the idea to work together in this project to search for a coffee CSA. I was very interested in through the whole years before, how could it happen that in Japan a CSA model started, and in US, Europe, the same concept, but they never met before. They never met each other. So how could it be? I didn't believe it, that they never met. But finally, I find out they really didn't met before, but they had something in common. I met Japanese activists in CSA in China in the World Conference of CSA in 2015. And I asked them, what's about this question? And they told me, okay, this project in Japan started with 5 women, and they started the first CSA with farmers together. This is, you can read everywhere. And the Japanese people in 2015, they told me, okay, I know one woman, she is now 80 years old, she is still alive and active, and I can organize an interview. So I went with my wife is Chinese as well. We went together to Japan to meet Miss Toya. And I made an interview and asked her, she was well prepared, this was 2 hours, this interview, and I asked her, how did you start? What was the situation? And these 5 women, they were all, maybe I'm a bit wrong now, but I think they were all wives from high professors, university professors. And in this time, it was not allowed for women to teach at university, so they start their own project, and they start with an philosopher. So I need your help again. This is the one who is really important in the CSA movement, and his name is, let me try to, Teoro, Masan, I will tell it in Portuguese. Teoro Ichiraku.
Toru Ichiraku, maybe. Ichiraku Toru. Yeah.
Muchas gracias.
De nada.
So he lived from 1906 to 94. And he was a philosopher, and he brought students together to think about how can we change something in agriculture. And finally, he sent his students out to the fields and say, start projects. And they called this also, I think already they called it Teikei. Maybe I'm a bit wrong in the historic part now. So he was searching for alternative also in economy. And Ms. Toya told me, okay, we studied this and that, Karl Marx and so on, how to change this model of capitalism. And I was asking, and what more did you study? What have you done? And then she said, we studied from Rudolf Steiner the economical course, where Steiner is explaining this model of the new economy. So I would call it new economy. And there is no time now to go deeper in this model of economy, but this economy is not based any longer on the fixed price. This is very important. CSA don't sell the products per kilo. CSA is asking the farmers and everybody who is involved, what is your need? what do you need to work for us, and we have the round table. We sit together on the round table, and including everybody who is involved, and to speak about the right price, the real price, not the market price, not the price who is made on the Wall Street. So this is a very important topic, the real price. And this idea came from Steiner, and the American movement and the European movement also based on Steiner. And so I found the link why Japan and US could do the same without meeting. They had the same resource. So this was quite a surprise for everybody, but yeah. So Walter, do I have few minutes?
Yeah, you have another 2 or 3 minutes if you like. You have covered so much ground, and I'm so happy to hear that story. That was for me always the big thing. How could they start also in Japan and Korea? Where did it come from? So it's just amazing to see it's coming from the same source. Wow, that's really already worth the whole evening. Thank you very much. So if you want to continue still a little, please go ahead.
Yeah.
Hermann, can I just ask, would it be possible for someone to write that the man's name on the chat so I can do a little bit of research about him?
Yeah. Chat, where can I do this? Here is the chat. Okay.
Sorry to interrupt you. And I wrote now in chat, and then I was wrong on what I said. His name is Teruo Ichiraku.
Okay, I can see it there. Thank you, Masa.
So I put it in the chat.
Perfect.
Here's the name.
I wrote, yeah, thank you.
And he was a philosopher, and he inspired a big group, and one of the most famous in Japan farmer from the CSA direction is Kaneko. And I think Kaneko as well was a student of him, but I don't have all the material. It's already 7 years ago. So if somebody is interested we can talk about also the interview, and I have this interview in Japanese, but a small translation in English is in it. So just write to me if somebody would like to write about, because I think this is an important topic, and I never could made by all my projects. I never had time to write down these topics. So now we are involved in the Teikei coffee project, and Teikei is not only coffee. Coffee is just a pilot project to show that CSA can also work worldwide or globalized in a good way of globalization. And we started also Teikei olive oil. Our companies are independent. We never want to build a huge company. So independent projects, and they help each other. And so we have the network called Teikei Global, but this is very in the beginning, and Teikei olive oil is doing olive oil with farmers from Greece, and we also have Teikei chocolate, also farmers from Mexico, and we have Teikei textile, now also hosted here in Mexico, and they try to bring this idea in the textile level. So all very small plants. Also Teikei coffee is already stable, like a stable economy, but actually we need 4,000 members to make it happen, that it makes sense. And 4,000 is a lot. Now we have 1,000 members. And because the chain in the coffee production with roasting and everything in it is larger than a vegetable CSA. So this is going on, and the new project here in Mexico, I'm searching for a little village to build a CSA village with everything what is needed, medicine, education, food, and everything what we need for the daily life. And the nice thing of CSA, of this model of economy, is you can work with the old systems and you can include the old system and you can let it grow until the highest top. And the highest top would be, with my starting point, the social sculpture, where we work with the ideas of freedom, equality, brother and sisterhood. That everybody can find what he needs to develop himself through such a project. This is the, let's say, the higher goal in this, what many CSAs are working on. And so this in a short presentation. Thank you very much for listening, and later we have questions, and we have also other beautiful contributors, and I would give it to my next speaker. Walter, you can introduce, please. No?
That's right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hermann, for now, and we'll come back to you later. So first I want to say there are other nations have come in besides Masando. There are also Kai Iruma, and I think Jin Tanaka sounds also Japanese. So people from Japan, hello. Then we have Chuifin, Hui, Tang Hong Chong, and Hu Ying from Singapore, although Hu Ying is right now in Thailand. And then we have Peter from Nepal. So hello, everybody. And I also saw Tobias Hartgemeier is not in there, but we have Christian Spieker from the Hof Pente, great CSA initiative in Germany. And and then we have, I'll share you how I got to know about, we actually wanted to start today with Trauger Groh, and we actually dedicated this to him because it would have been his 90th birthday this year. So when I finished my gardening training in 1977, there was in our place, there was another young man. He became a farmer, and when he finished, his dream was to go to the Buschberg Hof. And because this Trauger Groh was already a legend at that time, and his name was Thomas Heinze. He could not join today because he's still suffering from COVID. And also he says he doesn't speak English well enough to understand. Thomas later became one of the important and first seed growers, and he co-founded the Bingenheimer Saatzucht. Anyway, that's how I got to hear about the Buschberg Hof, and we're very happy to have here Patricia Riederer. Can you show a hand? Can you show yourself? Patricia, yeah. So she grew up on the Buschberg Hof. She's a daughter of Trauger, and I just actually received an email from your sister Daniela. She did not come in the Zoom, but maybe I just send her a link, so hopefully it will work now. And maybe later, Patricia, we can also have hear a word of yours. Thank you very much for being here. Yeah, and then also we still have somebody from Taiwan here, Pina Wu. She was the one who had the book Farms of Tomorrow translated into Chinese. Can we see you, Pina? Can you show your face? Can you show a hand? I don't see you right now, but I saw you before. Can't see you now. Anyway, Pina, hello.
You have Walter, she is on the second page.
She's
we
on
have
the
two
second
pages.
Yeah, she's on the second page. Hello, Pina. Thank you very much. Great that you're here. So yeah, and where does that lead to? It leads to the Groh family, and I'm sorry that we had a time confusion. So, but I'm happy that you, Alice, and Theo, however, made it in here. And yeah, you were right there at the start of CSA as we know it in the West. Can we hear how it all started and how it has evolved also on your own farm? Alice, hi, good morning.
Good morning.
It's now
good evening, wherever you are. Yes, I see several people I know. And greetings to Patricia. And this is a Grow family gathering. It took me a while to realize that the order that each one of us sees on our screen is completely different for everyone. So to say someone is on some particular page has no meaning because it doesn't work that way. Anyway, Wolfgang Stranz, grüß dich. That's really great that you are there. And Ricardo Pereira is joining us from England. He is working on a PhD on the theme of CSA. So he's very interested in all the history and all the different possible forms that we are seeing that CSA is taking in various places in the world. So that's very exciting. I'm also really excited to hear that Traugo's book has been translated into Chinese. We had a translation into Japanese. I looked desperately for it in the last couple of days and I cannot find it. We were told by a Japanese friend that it was not a great translation. So if anyone is willing and able to do it again, I would be really grateful. It would be a very useful thing. So I would like to say a word of what I know in a probably very simplistic way of what started in Germany. And I'm a little embarrassed because I'm sure that Wolfgang and Patricia was pretty young when all of that was starting. So she probably doesn't know the structural details, but Wolfgang probably does. But if you'll forgive me, Wolfgang, I will make it super simplistic, only to contrast with what we did here in America. So just to get started, and then he can fill in the details. I have a very simple description in the autobiography that Traugo wrote. First, he wrote it in German, and then it was translated into English. And he wrote with his farm partner, Heilo Loss, about what the structure was in Germany. Now, Wolfgang has written this much more thorough book about it's a combination of a translation of Traugo's book. Traugo wrote two books. This one, Farms of Tomorrow, Community-Supported Farms, Farm-Supported Communities. That's not in print anymore. But the second one that was written 7 years later, Farms of Tomorrow Revisited, is still available. One can find it. I personally don't like shopping on Amazon. Parts of that more thorough descriptions of what happened in Germany and are still happening in different places. So I can put these later when it's not my turn to speak. I'll put it in the chat and people can try and find it if they're interested. So Traugo always saw the farm as something other or in addition to providing food for people. He really felt it was an important cultural place in the community, and he always emphasized that. Now if I've got three motives here that he wrote about that he felt, and the group that he talked these things through with felt that this new biodynamic impulse, the Kobovitz impulse that Rudolf Steiner gave in these agricultural courses, needed a change in the social structure in order to support it properly. So that was the motivation, was to support the what he called the Kobovitz impulse in a new way. And so one of the things he talks about is change the ownership of land. So to that of a long-term rights of use. So it's a rights issue, not an ownership issue. And then change the wage relationship of employer and employee to partnership, collaboration between independent individuals. That was very important to him, that there was no employers and employees, but people were working together freely as independent individuals. And then he felt very strongly that it was important to open the farms for pedagogic, social, therapeutic, and community activities. So I will think of that in a while. My understanding in again, forgive me, super simplistic way, that is that when Buschberghof started, it was with 3 independent families. The Loss family, this was their family farm, but they chose to make a very courageous move and donate their family farm into a nonprofit trust holding the land, and then to work with independent 2 other families. And they gathered some, you could say, from the and with an anthroposophic bank that had started in Bochum, Germany, the GLS Bank. And my understanding, again, super simplistically, is that all of these families were granted a line of credit. And they in turn turned this line of credit, these funds, over to the farmers. And that was their working capital for the year. And then the rest of it was fairly conventional. There was a farm store on the farm where people could come and shop. And there was a delivery route to Hamburg. And there were boxes that were packed in various ways. And that at the end of the year, the budget was seen, did they break even? Did they have a bit of profit? Or did they have a deficit? And these families had also agreed to stand by the farmers with 1,000 D-Mark of support in case there was a deficit. And according to what Trauger told me that I remember, there was only 1 year where that actually happened. So when Trauger moved to, he visited the United States for a lecture tour, or the 3rd lecture tour in the fall, in October of 1984. That's when we met. And he moved to America in October 1985. We were married in October 85. And the first season for our Temple Wilton Community Farm was spring of 1986. It's named after the 2 little towns where we had people, farmers living, where we had land that we could work. The little neighboring town of Temple and the town of Wilton, where our particular farm is located. It was a patchwork of different places. In Temple, it was the land of a social therapy group called the Lucas Community. And that is where Lincoln Geiger and Anthony Graham lived and worked. Lincoln with the cows and Anthony with the vegetables. Just down here, we had both cows and vegetables and other animals. So Trauger always, we were, the way we started having meetings with local families. And Trauger's emphasis was always saying to people, you need to want the farm. The farm itself is very important for the community. And we did not have, as an educational and as a cultural place for families. Now we started to have a family. First, Theo's older sister, Nicola, came, and 3 years later, Theodore was born. And many of us had young families, and this was a gathering place for these young families and for the children to experience the farm together. But we did not have a bank that we could go to and do a similar situation and get lines of credit. So basically we had to say to our families in our area, this will be our working budget for the year. And we need to cover this budget. And it has to include, in a very well thought out way, all that it takes to run this farm for 1 year. And Trago said to people, I'm not going to grow vegetables and then you stop at the supermarket on the way home because you don't have time to come by our farm store. And then I'm stuck with these vegetables. I'm not doing that. We need you to commit to supporting the budget. And then, yeah, then you've already paid for it, so to speak. So you may as well come. But he constantly was emphasizing the need and the recognition of the farm itself as an important place in the community, and that we were supporting the community by having the farm, and the community in exchange was supporting the farm. So we started our first season in 1986. And we did it in a very interesting way. We would have 2 meetings in the spring, one in which we presented the budget. And Trago always said the budget was the footprint of our intentions. So if it was not in the budget, we were probably not going to do it. But the budget itself showed where we had to spend money, where we wanted to actually do things. So we tried to budget very exactly of what we wanted to do for that particular season. So people gathered together, they could ask questions all about the budget, and that was the chance for the farmers to tell the community what they had in mind for that year. And there was a lot of dialogue back and forth. And then we had a second meeting. We called that the pledge meeting, in which we sat in a circle what they could contribute to this full budget. I may have to go upstairs. My internet, I don't, yeah, it's not my internet speed. Well, we'll just see if this continues to work. So it was an interesting social experiment. And Trago was always interested in interesting social experiments, that people felt that they could say aloud what they could contribute. And some people would pay one sum for the whole year. Some people paid quarterly, but most people had a set income and they paid on a monthly basis. And they realized that this was not buying food. This was contributing to the budget, the whole budget of the farm, such that the farm could exist, and to support the farmers so that they were free to do the farm work in our name, so that they did not need to go and have extra jobs outside the farm to support their families and their life. So that's how it started in 1986. I think there were 28 families and something like a $30,000 budget. And now we are, the Temple Wilton Community Farm is still going. We're going into our, it's a, what is it? That, there are 35th, no, more than that.
37th, second
37th,
moon.
that's what I was going to say, our 37th year. And Trago unfortunately got ill with Lyme disease here and stopped farming earlier than we had hoped. Lincoln Geiger and Anthony Graham have been farming up to recently. Actually, Anthony's going to grow the vegetables again this year because there's no other person there. But now they're in their, as Trago was when he stepped back. We are looking for a new vegetable farmer. We have a new dairyman and a cheesemaker that work together with us. We now have about 100 families. Our land here in New Hampshire is very poor. It's very rocky, very sandy, very acid. It's cannot really support as many families as maybe other places can. So we just have to keep that in mind. But it's the farm has now moved from the Lucas community, about 20 years ago, up to a place called Abbott Hill, which is where the Waldorf schools are. And it's now located, the headquarters of the farm is now, and the farm store right between the two Waldorf school campuses. So that has created its own very lively community. There's a cafe that exists now in one of the farm buildings. So that has, again, created a lot of community life around it. Yeah, we know people chose at one point not to pledge out loud anymore, which was a little disappointing for some of us because we enjoyed the social experiment and the tension that created in a certain way, the challenge that created. But I can see this year that we're getting a little bit closer, a little bit moving back towards that. We have, I mean, we just did the simple mathematics of dividing the yearly budget by how many families are actually how many adults we have. Togo always said, children don't have incomes, they cannot pledge. So that's the one feature of our farm, is that we ask people to pledge per adult. And therefore families with a number of children can end up paying or contributing a similar amount as single people. And everyone has their own feelings about that. But we are now putting out our latest newsletter because we have our pledge meeting coming up soon. And we are talking about a range of pledges and trying to have people understand what the pledge supports in the farm. One basic aspect is the farm budget for this coming year, but we capital costs and future hopes for different projects on the farm. And depending on what people are able to contribute, we are able to do more things or not. So again, it's a mutual education project with community members on what is going on in the farm, what needs are on the farm, but also what the farm can contribute. There's been less celebration of festivals like we used to do because there just slowly are there a new generation of young families involved in the farm. So that may start again. We've done things like have food preservation workshops, helping people to can food and make certain products. But it's really needs people who are interested in these kinds of things to carry that aspect of the farm. So yeah, I hope I've at least covered some basic things in a simplistic way, and that Patricia and Wolfgang, Theodore, do you want to say something? Yeah, again, he was born and raised on the farm, so he's kind of a CSA baby because that's all that's he's ever known. So now I've lost him. He's disappeared.
I was joking that I was biodynamically grown and community supported, like the little labels you get on fruit or vegetables. No, I just wanted to point out, related to what you were saying, that the whole system of pledging allows for the consideration of what the land needs. So even though these sustainable and regenerative and biodynamic practices can also often be justified in the quality of the produce, with the idea of supporting the farm per se as a cultural and community institution, you can really think long-term about what the land needs are and do things that aren't necessarily going to produce the most produce or the most profit in any given year. You can think about how you rest your land and just general sustainable practices and give that time and investment. And Daniela's here too, Ma.
Where?
Kathleen, Daniela. Hi.
Where are you, Daniela?
Yeah, Kathleen Daniela, I've also seen her.
Yeah, I'm glad you're seeing her. I would like to see her.
Yeah, there's actually just now, Kathleen, can you show your picture? We only see this screen kind of. Maybe you want to say a few words also. Or then Wolfgang or Patricia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
Can
do
you-
Daniela.
Wolfgang, you want to say something? Add something to what was said about Buschberghof and CSA?
Oh, there's much that could be said. There. There you are. I
Yes,
don't see
on
your
on
face. I just see pink.
on Buschberghof, we had a new group of farmers who wanted to bring to life what Chauger had started in the United States. He started in 1986, so we started 2 years later. And one very important thing was, if you want to start a CSA farm, you need to know many people. And the farmers, the new young farmers on Buschberghof, they didn't know so many people. And I came in because I knew a lot of people. And so we started in 1988, 2 years later. So we are now in our 34th year. And still, the community-supported agriculture system is still existing. And we have been some good example how agriculture could be done. So we were an example for, let's say, 10 farms who joined our example and established CSA system on their farms. And in 2011, we started a CSA network, which is now, we have now 400 CSA farms in Germany, which I think is quite a success.
Oh.
Yes.
Thank you, Wolfgang. And here we see, I think, a grandchild of Trauger. Is that right, Patricia? You just have to unmute. You must unmute, Patricia. Wir können dich nicht hören.
It's my grandchild, so it's
Lower
his
left. Great
grandchild.
grandchild.
Yes.
Great grandchild. Yeah, that's wonderful.
They never met.
No, this is the Familie-Treffen here.
Patricia, anything to add to what Wolfgang already said, or about the Buschberg community and the CSA?
A lot to say.
Of course.
But, I'm not very good in so let's try. We have 33 years now, and I think the problems of CSA change every year because people change and the situation in the world is changing, and we learned that the situation with animal problems in the world or with wirtschaftliche problems in the world directly have an an income to the CSA in Buschberghof. So I can't say this is the problem or this is the fortune of CSA in Buschberghof, but it always changes, and it's very lebendig,
lively, yeah, it's
lively,
alive, yeah.
And yeah, I think it's running and running, and the biggest problem is not to get tired with it or something like that. You always have to take new ideas and bring in, and to change things, and to, yeah, Alice said, to do some workshops on the weekends with people. The problem now is Corona, and we can't meet. And that's for a CSA really a big problem, because we need the contact. The people that eat our products need the contact to our farm. They need to see the cows, to play on the farm, to talk to one another. And it's nearly stopped since 2 years. It's really hard to get them here and to say, just come and walk around, help us with some working. So I very much hope that from April, May, the things will be a bit better and people can come, because I think there's more, the new generation is nearly more interested in this form of working together and taking Verantwortung for something like this farm than the last generation. So it's really a good time, and I think it's even after 33 years, it's really a new and great idea. And I couldn't work on a other way. I just think that's the way to work for us. But even we need the contact, and we need more than the contact through this or with this Zoom or things that. It's great for today to see Alice and to see you all and to have the whole world in my little bureau. But for the real, we always said the one is the money and the products, and the other side is the contact and this feeling close to a farm, the feeling to be a farmer. Even if I sit in the city and work on the computer, to feel I have my farm. That's a absolutely different thing than to go to a shop and buy my things, because there's no contact. So yeah, for me, it's very nice to see you all, to see that it is international. And I really like this CSA. In Germany, they always say solidarische Landwirtschaft. And I like this CSA because I think it's the better word, and it's what Trauger left to us. And solidarisch is not the word for that, what we are doing.
Just to support what Patricia said, Trauger always said, we are all farmers.
Yes.
And those who actually work on the land are active farmers, but we're all farmers, and people farm in our name. That actually had legal implications at one point, and that was that raw milk was not allowed to be sold commercially in New Hampshire, but we could prove that these people who took our milk actually owned the cows, so to speak, because they supported the budget that cared for these animals. And in New Hampshire, you are allowed to drink the milk of your own cows on your own farm. So,
okay, thank you very much.
We could drink the milk.
Thanks very much for the reports from New Hampshire and the Hamburg area in Germany. And I would like now to introduce Walapa van Willenswaard. She has been actually doing arts, studied arts, I think, and been involved with nutrition and agriculture for a long time. And she's, for a few months only now, been on the board of Urgency, the network for solidarity-based partnerships in agroecology, where CSA is only one. There are different models. So Urgency is integrating several models that are trying to bring something new to agriculture, let's say. Thanks very much, Walapa, for being here. I think you're still in vacation, so a special thanks that you made it here today.
Yeah, thank you, Wouter, for a good introduction. And hi, everyone, particularly the family of Go, Alex and Theo. Yes, nice to hear your story, and everyone here, including Hermann and Patricia, and all the Asian friends. I'm glad. How should I start? I think we start at a personal level. When Hans and I, Hans is from the Netherlands, from Amsterdam, and we met in 1997 in one of the conference called Alternative to Consumerism in 97. Our mentor, who are very close relationship with Schumacher College in Devon. We all know E.F. Schumacher, who have been in Myanmar and says small is beautiful, because the notion he got from Myanmar. And then when we have been encountered with the notion of alternative to consumerism, so Hans and I, when we settled down, when Hans moved here in Thailand, we want to do something, and we start so-called, in this day, they call social enterprise in 2001 as a publisher's bookshop, coffee shop, handicraft, stuff. But mainly it's a bookshop. It is a publishing house. And of course, Rudolf Steiner is one of the books that we publish as well, because Hans have a background in biodynamic farming. He studied at Emerson College. So in that background, he mentioned about CSA, because we thought that if we start a family, we should have our own cooking. And he inquired, because he's quite new in the circumstance in Thailand, he asked whether do we have a kind of community-supported agriculture where the partnership is between eater and grower or something like that. I said, no, interesting idea, but no, I have no idea. But anyhow, we're searching and we found a small group of, not a big group, of only 20 family consumer and the farm, or at only few around 4 or 5 family farmer and consumer group. That is the first one. But they don't accept, because we are not in the looting. So how should we do? And at the end, we found a group of farmers, and we are with the group of farmers, we start the CSA in Thailand. That is around 2002, 1 year after we married. So we have a group of around 10 family farmers, and from 15 family consumer, it grow up into 100 of consumer membership. Yeah, so we use our bookshop as to introduce about what is about CSA to the Thai circle. And then we come to the point that we think that CSA only in Thailand, it doesn't work well. So then we, with a group of friends, we start farmer markets a few years after. And farmer market, or we call green market, become well received more than CSA, because the discipline of the being a consumer really stick to you know, when we start with the farmer, we have to eat the same kind of vegetable for a month. And this kind of the same again. This week we receive every Monday when we receive the basket. You found that okay, it's the same kind of vegetable, you know. So hardly have a consumer who really want to stick like that. I'm really amazed from learning from the French friend when the start of Natu a progress in 1972 something. They can eat turnip for the whole season. So it's amazing. But anyhow, we have a network in Southeast Asia, so-called. We have 6 countries now that we work with. We have a friend from Myanmar, Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, of course Thailand, and including Bhutan. So we have a good friend. And all these countries, we sit down and talk about the CSA. And we call our network toward Organic Asia, because Hans also have a background working with E4, particularly the PGS, the participatory guarantee system. So I think that the personal family farmer and consumer family, now we are working with so-called institutional consumer, or we can say that from the CSA of family become institutional CSA. We work with group of school network, the network of hospital at the district level, both school and hospital. We have introduced the CSA, the partnership. How can the network of school being a partner with the community farmer? And we quite have a few districts and provinces that now the family farmers, the community farmer work with the school. And one case is very impressive, is 40 school network really work with around 50 family farmers. The same like district hospital also work with this community farmer. So my story is that though you are not successful at the personal level here in Thailand, we have only few groups of CSA here, not more than 10. But the story of the school, community school, and quite a number of schools now, more than 10 provinces, really work with the farmer in their territory, the same like hospital as well. So I think that is important how, and when Hermann mentioned that you are in the CSA in China in 2015, we were there as well in China, in Beijing with Xi'an, yeah, who are now become a board member of the Urgence. And we also connect with Elizabeth Anderson. I think you may know her. She wrote the book, Sharing the Harvest. And as a publisher, we publish her book as well, apart from the book of Rudolf Steiner and this kind of thing. So Sharing the Harvest is also help promote the CSA here. And every year before the COVID, we organize, we call Mindful Market, where the case of CSA, not only here from Myanmar, Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, and Bhutan, but we invite the case of CSA in the ASEAN or Asia level. Sometimes we invite, we look as a CSA and farmer market is a cluster, not only one type of the membership. So we have worked with Hans Salim from Korea as a consumer cooperative. We invite Seikatsu from Japan also. So I think what we interested that how the social form of partnership between the grower and the consumer, not only CSA, can really multiply. And right now we are interested in another model of food policy council because, and we have published another book of Dr. Wayne Lober on the No Nonsense Guide to World Food. And he started in Toronto, the Food Council. And we also now work with these 10 provinces that I mentioned about the school and farmers and the hospital and the farmer working together. I think the model that we can scaling up from personal level to institutional and come to the kind of province level, that is our interest, and we are start moving to that direction. Yes.
Vallabha, can you say a word also about urgency, the work with urgency?
Yeah, I think now urgency try to expand beyond the CSA, and there's the same like the story that I just mentioned. They're mapping into agroecology at the level of the not only the family level. And I have seen that the Spanish lady, Aricia, she's a chairperson after Judith Hitman have 2 terms already. And the vice president is Chiang. And Chiang very much promote not only CSA, but the farmer market. And the Asian culture is very much the farmer market. So in the CSA movement, of urgency, they have moved with CSA as a classic level, but they also move to expand it more than only CSA, the farmer market, the PGS, the other form of partnering. And I think they work a lot in the project of La Via Campesina. I think this is a kind of farmer movement that start in South America. So, and they have been trying to mapping the CSA. And I think in their mapping, they have almost 100 countries that are subscribed of the member of the urgency. But the international board, they have 8 country represent that they select regional, and they just have in September, the regional meeting from Europe, from America, and from Asia. And in the board, international board, the IC, the international board of the committee, it represents all regions from 6 continents. And each term is 3 years. And they will plan next year in Togo, Africa, that they will have meeting every 2 or 3 years. I think the last one they organized is in Greece, and the one before Greece is in Beijing. Yeah, so it's a very interesting network. They're quite now established as a kind of have a real representative of different regions, and everyone bring in an update. Every 2 months they have a meeting. They call meeting of the IC, and the special envoy. Altogether, 15 people meet every 2 months. At the moment, to the Zoom meeting, of course. But whenever they make it possible to meet, they will organize it. And every 2 months meeting, I can see that they have a kind of, apart from updating, they try to have activity together. They just have a full citizenship course. Yeah, the course, and which we promote full citizenship here in this region as well. And they have a very concrete program and projects. And recently they got the support from FAO. So that's kind of.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Vallabha. We'll have in a minute, we'll have the possibility then also to ask questions or come into conversations with all contributors so far. I just wanted to say a word also about the World Goetheanum Association, which is hosting this event. And because there are quite a few people in here who might not know what that is. You have come, quite a few people have come in because it's about CSA, which I'm very happy about, your interest. But why are we hosting that? What is the World Goetheanum Association, WGA? That's actually a network of companies, of institutions, initiatives, and also of self-employed people, which was founded almost 4 years ago, only almost 4 years ago. And these institutions, these people, these entrepreneurs and enterprises, they are, you know, seeing some challenges in the world. They want to work together to, let's say, you know, solve the problems and make the world more just. And that based on a different of a view of the human being, which is more holistic, which is more comprehensive than our materialistic outview on the human being and on the world which we have today. So if you want to know more about that, you just go to the website, which I'm posting here also for all those who don't know it. Here you go. And then myself, I'm coordinating the efforts of the World Goetheanum Association here in Asia. So it was founded in Europe. Most of the partners so far are from Europe, but we have some 20, maybe 25 also from this part of the world. And my effort is, you know, trying to find more people who want to work together worldwide. As you see today, we're really from 3 continents at least, and at least we're talking already together. But in the future, we hope, you know, that we really can also find projects that cannot be done alone. And we have some such projects already in Europe, where actually it makes sense that enterprises beyond their boundaries work together, where you can do different things than which you can do alone. No, so there's some people in here who did not get the information through myself. If ever you want to get informed in the future, just drop me a line. You can also write to the address on the website. But if it's here Asia, it's going direct to me through this email. And I want to share also 2 dates. Some people have been informed that there's once a year, there's a World Goetheanum Forum. It's happening in Switzerland, so far at least. And the date has been changed to September 23, 24. So maybe some of us can actually travel there and participate. I attended, I think, 1 time, Hermann maybe 1 or 2 times. I met actually Alice and Theo there, the photograph that you see in the PDF that was taken there. And then our next meeting here in Asia, that will be on March 31, and the topic will be India. So we have here 2 people, Wahida and Mr. Chatterjee from India, who will also contribute next time. Very exciting people, very exciting enterprises. And before we really go to the actual question and answer, maybe Aaron is from Dali, most beautiful place in China, in Yunnan province. Could you say a word or 2 about what's happening in Dali in terms of biodynamic agriculture and maybe CSA? Are you here? Maybe I can't see him right now. Anyway, I also wanted to ask maybe Ricardo, can you say something about your doctorate? Also Hu Ying, maybe she's also writing a doctorate. If you want to share something for the other participants to hear, it would be time now.
Should I go first?
Please.
Well, hello everyone. So I started this PhD just a year ago. I work for this organization called Ruskin Mill Trust, which is one of the co-founders of this PhD. The other co-founder is actually the university that I'm working at, which is Coventry University. in the UK, which funnily enough is a place that was bombed during the Second World War. And reading through Thiago Grove's biography, I can see that there's an interesting link going on there, because Thiago talks very vividly about his experience from the aftermath of the war too. So the point is Ruskin Mill is a fairly large organization in the UK context. He has now 12 centers spread across the UK. And the idea that comes from working in this sort of social and educational context, just to explain, Ruskin Mill provides education for young adults with complex learning difficulties, and it's funded by the government, by local authorities, and the UK government indirectly. But how to go beyond this work that we do with children with learning difficulties, and one way would be to actually invite the local populations to become closer, to regain that closeness with the land. And Ruskin Mill actually has a fair amount of land. I mean, for UK standard, not for US standards, but that land could be used in a very practical way if we were able to set up a CSA network, because although every single college that Ruskin Mill owns within its land trust farms the land biodynamically, and the biodynamic garden is actually the center and the heart of each of the colleges, there's still a fair amount of land that is not used. So if we were able to set up a CSA network, and then in my vision, actually invite the students to work there and to be paid for what they do as well, and then offer those biodynamic vegetables to the local population, I see that as an incredible deed to the local communities. And in a way, this goes, I made a note of that because Alice talked about that, the idea of having this therapeutic element within a CSA, which Ruskin Mill already has through the work that we do in our colleges. So I think all the ingredients are there. So Angus Gordon, the founder of Ruskin Mill, is very clear that Thiago Grove needs recognition for the extraordinary work that he did throughout his life. And the idea of doing this PhD is also to acknowledge that and to draw inspiration particularly from the Temple Wilton model, which, as we know, has a spiritual intent behind it. I mean, I've been learning and reading a lot about many CSAs across the globe. And some CSAs are just market enterprises, really disguised under the title of CSA. And perhaps, and that's one of the things that I'm investigating, the fact that there is a spiritual intention behind Temple Wilton. It might be one of the reasons that it's still going strong today, apart from all the technical aspects and the will and determination of the people that are working behind it, which is also very important. So that's it in a nutshell, unless you want me to say more.
Thank you very much. That was a lot in very few words. I put the website of Ruskin Mill Trust, which is an amazing institution, on the chat. Take your time to check it out. So Huying or Aaron, do you want to say something? Or also maybe Chuifen about what's happening in Singapore?
I can say something quickly.
Please.
Yeah, but I'm also really interested to hear from Teifan about how things are in Singapore. I'm doing my PhD, I'm doing a PhD as a way to continue some of the research that I've been really interested in Southeast Asia when it comes to the question of agroecology. So the last presentation by Walapa was really interesting for me to see how, because right now I'm based in Thailand and focusing on trying to find a few different sites from which I can tell a story about farming that is done through different agroecological approaches, which include things like agroforestry, permaculture. I haven't found biodynamic agriculture, but there is a lot of natural farming models and organic models. So some of the things that were raised earlier by presenters, which I found so interesting, were just this idea of the right to use the land, and which is different from the idea of land ownership. So, but so I am very interested in finding out more about, first of all, how did this, for instance, how did CSA and coffee come well together? Because one of the sites I've started to look at is, and again, when it comes to tree crops, for different terrain, you have different issues. And so one of the sites that I have started looking at is a highland coffee site in northern Thailand, which has issues to do with land ownership, and that go back into a longer history of agriculture and ethnic minorities within Thailand. And so this idea of how do you support long-term supportive agroforestry that keeps that long-term in mind so that people can make the best decision for themselves, how to connect people, young people and people who are in the city to a farm that they have very little relationship to. Those are all things I'm thinking through. And because I come from Singapore as well, this question of how to create regional food systems that can really support. As someone said, we are all farmers. It's not just saying that the people who are working directly on the land are farmers and the rest are not. So I find many questions raised today really interesting, and I'm hoping to ask each of you a few more questions later. Thank you for letting me share about the research.
Thanks very much, Wing. So Thuy-Phen, or also maybe Ching Wei from Singapore, do you want to say something about what's going on with the soil in Singapore and the compost? I think Aaron has left. Well, if not, then we could just start with the questions. Either you can put it in the chat box, or you could just blow it out, switch on the microphone and start questioning. Let's see, we're not hundreds of people, so it might just work.
Okay. Can I say something, Walter?
Please go ahead,
Yeah.
Alice.
I find it so important and exciting to hear how people are taking the CSA model, which is really a social model, and it can be used not only in agriculture, but in other ways. And I'm so happy to hear that people are doing that. Traugo really was so interested in that. And if I could, I don't want to say that I'm disappointed, but a little bit that our Temple Wilton Community Farm has stayed very focused on itself and its little community here. He hoped that there would be networks of farms developed, but also other places have done different kinds of CSA work. I know of a doctor couple in Michigan here in the United States. They do community supported medicine, namely that the doctors are supported on a regular basis and people who need their help come when they need their help. I know that this was a model that existed in China at one point. I don't know any details about it, so I don't want to say anything. But other people are doing these kinds of things, and I think they're really interesting and very, very important. I loved hearing there are places that are now working with schools, working with hospitals. Those two places in particular are so important with food, that food for healing, food for education. It's a real, I just have felt so strongly that in this country, but I think everywhere around the world, two very important issues are nutrition and education. Nutrition so that people can actually develop themselves and learn to think, and education so that people can learn to think independently, and amongst many other things. So I'm very, very happy and grateful to hear that this kind of work is happening.
Yeah, I also wanted to actually say something similar. I heard from Hermann, no, it's an art project. From you, Alice, you called it a mutual education project. Walapa brought in the schools and the hospitals, and Ricardo was talking about therapy, you know, so it has so many different features, and it's quite amazing how artful the people take it out. Tingwei from Singapore is, I think, now ready to share something about what they are doing there. They're transforming. They don't have many farms in Singapore, so I think it's starting to be, people are starting to become conscious that they're depending on the soil and on the soil of neighboring countries. And there are a lot of young people who are doing interesting work there in Singapore. Tingwei, can we hear you?
Hi, Walter. It's been a long time. Haven't seen you in like close to 2 years. 3 years actually, I think.
Yeah.
Good to see you again. Hi, everybody. So I'm based in Singapore. And what I do here is show people how to do composting, specifically thermal composting. The two things in Singapore that we have to deal with is we have limited landfill. So food waste, especially from households, tend to get thrown out. So with composting, we're trying to encourage people to use the food waste in making compost. But the second purpose of making compost in Singapore is actually to get people to become aware of our soil condition. So Singapore is on a recent food security drive, and we have more and more community food gardenings happening. And what a lot of these community gardeners are encountering is really, really poor soil. So Singapore is highly urban developed, and a lot of our soil is degraded and highly compacted. So what we're hoping to do with compost is to bring awareness to soil. So by getting people to make compost and applying that directly to poor soil and observing the how the soil can improve over time, we're hoping to kind of shift the mindset towards a more soil regeneration, more earth aware kind of attitude, so that we can, through food scrap composting, to shift people towards becoming more connected with nature. So Teifan, who's also on the call, Teifan and I co-create on a few things, one of which is Project Black Gold. It's a community-based food scrap composting project. At the moment, when we first started, people are not doing community composting. There may be individuals privately doing composting at home. 1 or 2 community gardens may do it, including Teifan's own community garden. But with Project Black Gold, we tried to take it on a larger scale. So at the moment, we have some compost sites on the west side of Singapore and a few more on the east side. Slow going stuff, because we found that to shift mindset and then for people to then take action, that takes a few months of hand-holding. It's a journey. It's something that cannot be hurried. So we've had interest. We've also had more and more followers on Instagram, but that does not necessarily translate into immediate action. People need to come, maybe have a look at a real compost station, do a bit of hands-on, go home, think about it, maybe give us some food scraps every now and then. Some of them have become regulars, but by and large, we've found that it needs a lot of pushing, a lot of kind of encouraging, and we're out there almost pretty much every week, every day, kind of working on something related to compost and soil in Singapore to really get this movement. I think it's a movement that we're trying to get hold of. And we also know quite a number of community gardeners who are also experienced compost makers. But they are kind of doing their own thing in their own neighborhood. And we're trying to sort of stitch all these neighborhoods and people together to show a bigger picture. So with that bigger picture, we're hoping that more people in Singapore will go, oh, you know, there's quite a lot of that happening. Maybe I want to be a part of that. Maybe I want to make compost. Maybe I want to grow some stuff in soil. Maybe I want to care about my soil. And from there, maybe I can think about the bigger picture, which is nature.
Thanks so much, Jingwei. Maybe now we should open the floor for questions or other contributions, free contributions. Frank, I see you have a question. Just go ahead, whoever wants, please.
Can I say something?
Please, Pina.
Hi, my name is Pina and I'm in Taiwan. I'm just really glad to see Alice grow in person today because I helped the translation of the book Farms of Tomorrow. And I just want to say a short kind of a memory because I met Traeger Grow when I was interning on a farm in Hancock, New Hampshire. And then he went to our farm and our core group it's a CSA farm, and the core group invited him for a talk. And of course, he's a very charismatic speaker. And then after the talk, I asked him, have you got this book translated in Chinese? And he said, no, maybe you could do that. And strangely, for that word kept in me. And because it's more like an individual effort, but the words kept with me for like 10 years. So it was 2008 when I met him. And it was like 2017 or something like that. The book finally came out. It's like this one. And it's of course with the effort of many, many people, and especially the support of the wardrobe, the community in Taiwan, Yilan. And at that time, I also sent a letter, and I think I got a card from Alice. You encouraged me. So I was very happy to carry on. And one of the good things is, I think it really was a seed in Taiwan. So later on, I actually have a question for Hermann because I couldn't understand how come CSA could develop in Brazil in the number of hundreds, because in Taiwan, we feel like, wow, it is start to get going. But no, it's like no more than 10. Somehow it just, it doesn't happen. So, but however, just recently more and more, I think people start to understand, to forget about CSA as a marketing idea, but more wardrobe school, and as the community start to get it as more social and more understand it in a spiritual level. Actually, last week there was a wardrobe school. They are having a discussion about supporting one farm. And I myself, I'm married to a farmer. So I think I'm gradually in a position to support or initiate something. But somehow in Taiwan, maybe we are just more timid. So for me, it's very helpful for Alex to describe the scenario, the situation of how it gets started, because I understand it was a meeting and it really takes courage to go out there and to have the community to support you. We cannot do that. So all the context help. And also I really appreciate Walter for organizing this meeting, because I just, yeah. So my question to Hermann is, what do you think, how does this idea, what's the context that makes it happening in Brazil, or in your observation? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for this question. And when I started in Brazil, everybody was telling me, including the Association of Biodynamic, Association of Organic, and all these people, they said, Hermann, forget about CSA in Brazil, never will happen. The Brazilians, they don't pay, they don't come to the right moment to pick up the vegetable, and if they come, they will take more than they reserve to get. So forget about in Brazil is impossible. And I said, wow, this is very interesting. This inspired me more to start, to try. So the beginning was very tough. I was talking over 1 year, and I found a farmer, and in the end I said to the farmer, okay, then we start. I will be the first member, you will go on selling your products, and so then it starts growing. And through the training course we did, this was the very successful part, because we invite the people to come for full 4 days to our farm, and we did it very practical. The most successful part was that farmers came to our farmer, and our farmers told the other farmer, do it. This is really nice. You see the tractor there. This tractor is just new, and we could make it by help from the community. So this was actually for the farmers the most important argument, to show a very well done CSA, and the farmer is really inspired and can give this information to the next. So another point was we teach very practical in these 4 days, and the practical part is, of course, in the first line, we need good farmer who knows how to grow food for baskets or for shares, what is reasonable and enough. No? So the variety must be big, 60 varieties we always suggest to plant. So the people could see it in our farm. This is well done. And another very important point is the bookkeeping. You need to teach the people to make a really good bookkeeping, how to administrate a project. If this is not well done, then it is getting in problems. We lost in the beginning too much money because we didn't do it well. We didn't know this, but we learned it. So, and then another part was how to communicate this project to the outward. So do a good advertisement with a website, social media, that people get to know that this exists. And the fourth part was to do a very good inner communication. So we had really 4 different parts in the training course, and also in the daily work, that not only the farmer is doing everything. So this was, I think, the successful part. And then, of course, we invite a philosopher to talk about the need of a new economy, and to inspire the people with all the philosophical part behind. And also We did courses about development of human being, biography work, it called in the anthroposophical world. I don't know if you heard about. So all these topics we include that the sense of making a CSA is much wider than only to organize the need of the farmers. This is we present the work as this is the revolution, and I'm totally sure if we don't go in this direction, what will be left is the food system of the industrial agriculture. So building up communities, and we could give this idea very alive and very clear, and we could show the community, the living community, and I think this is the success. But I mean, you never know. First, you need those people who can really inspire other people, and the culture of the nations is also a question. No? So we were successful in Brazil, and I see here in Mexico, I'm now in Mexico, it's totally different. It's not so easy like in Brazil. So I'm suffering again here in the next country, but we will find the right language, and this is needed. Yeah. Maybe this helped a bit, I hope.
Thank you. Alice, please.
A few things that Walter said that I find really important. One is it's incredibly stressful for one farmer to think about supplying all the needs and the great variety. You know, we've grown 40 some odd different kinds of vegetables here, but it's incredibly stressful and maybe not so necessary. Traugo, amongst other people, have talked about groups of farmers coming together to supply all those needs, so that to some degree or another, the farms can specialize in certain things, and then together form a CSA, have a distribution point that people can come to and really appreciate the specialized work of a number of different farms. I just don't think that this one model of one farm having to grow absolutely everything is the only way that it can be done, because it's not always possible or necessary. The other thing was, I think one of the reasons that the Temple Wilton Community Farm got started was indeed because Traugo Grow was somebody who could articulate the ideals, and that was so very helpful because he could inspire people, as just been said. That's so important, and that's been one of the challenges for the community farm ongoing, is that the other two farmers and the people that we have now are not those kinds of speakers. They're excellent farmers, but they aren't those kinds of speakers. But that is often really important. People need to understand, and therefore have their hearts moved by understanding what the needs are and what is possible. So it's not always easy to find people in the community who can do that. But if that is possible, I think it's really important and a necessary element. And we can find perhaps people in our community that make that possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we include also in a practical way art. We worked with clay, and we explained it through the hands. I mean, we have to create creativity. And if you are creative enough, there is always a way to find out. No? And you are totally right to include other farmers, other products when the farmer is not able to grow everything, then just look in the neighborhood, neighbor farms, and who is interested in, and then start a learning process together. And this is, I think, creativity is the main tool, I would say.
Please, Shenye from China, can you come in? Thanks, Hermann.
Hello. And this is Shen Yi. I'm from China. I just got this link by a friend sent to me. He said maybe you can learn something from here. And I'm pretty new to everyone. I only know Walapa. That's this 1 year I went to Thailand to visit a mindfulness market. I just simply because we don't know each other, so I think it's better I first introduce myself. And for briefly here, I know me. And I used to working in Beijing Farmers Market and for about 5 years. And I moved to east part of China, nearby Shanghai. Then I work for the Australia Biodynamic Association in China. I think this is because in China, as I know, there is 2 branches. One is international BD and one is Australian BD. So I worked for about 3 years. And now I left that organization, and I've been working because, as I understand, the CS mode is community support agriculture, right? And so I'm wondering, because people just before they ask Dr. Shi Yan, there was one of the most important promoter in China, for CSA. And I'm a pure consumer, honestly. Before I joined the Beijing Farmers Market, I was really consider about what's wrong about our food. I don't work for NGO. I don't work for any work involved agriculture. I was working for underground music, like rock and roll. So I was wondering, rock and roll is about independence. If I can't control, I can't eat good food, how can I talking about freedom and independence? For the young generation, I feel something wrong about our food system and especially the environment. That's why I try to be volunteer for Beijing Farmers Market and working in this. Because to me, I think the good sustainable agriculture is just not only CSA. They see just business mode. If you, as Dr. Shi Yan's farm, harvest share, they do. That's to me, I don't necessarily agree that they're doing this mode they're doing in China, because it's more commercial. I don't like this. For me, I think sustainable agriculture is more like good soil. The soil is basic of the agriculture, and good seeds. We lost so many good old seeds, and then it says mode. That is, I learned a lot of experience from 2 organizations, and now I independently and push this. I work in local farm or organic farm for 3 years, and we've been changed about 100 more soil, and now we successfully keep and protect the 100 seeds. And also I'm established a group of consumers, very strong theme to support the farmers. I want this become like a mode based from pure consumer, like roots from us to do pure good sales mode. This is what I feel like to do. Yeah, hopefully my explanation or my sharing can be understand.
Thanks very much for the insights into this part in the eastern part of China. Thanks very much, Shenye. Other questions still to our contributors? 5 minutes left. So
I have a question.
Please.
That's okay. I'm really interested in how CSA works in some places and how it doesn't work in others. And I have heard that from, I think Walapa was saying that the model of CSA didn't seem to work in Thailand. And I'm wondering if it's something to do with other market models that exist. So for instance, the fact that there are more wet markets available and there's this huge variety of vegetables that are already available. And a CSA model would be one that makes consumers have to keep coming back to the same group of people again and again. And so I'm just trying to understand how different, even this idea of CSA can be adapted for different contexts. How could it work in the Southeast Asian context, Vietnam, Thailand, and also given that Vietnam and, so I'm also thinking in Southeast Asia, there are different types of countries. Singapore is a city-state. It's very hard for many Singaporeans to understand the issues that people in kind of farmland communities face. So there's this bigger question: how do we adapt a CSA model to something that is, it might be a city food system, a regional system, and how does it also address ongoing habits that people who are cooking would have? Like, I want to be able to go down to the market and just collect different vegetables rather than have to keep waiting for the same box to come back every week. So I'm just wondering if anyone has insights on this. I'm also really interested to hear more about the coffee and CSA model, although I maybe would need to ask to ask this question in a separate space. Yeah.
May I react to Queen? Yeah, thank you for your question. I think I have 3 points now from listening what Queen and also Chen Ye. Nice to meet you again, Chen Ye. Yes, I think that first of all, I would like to emphasize that the family level at the personal transformation is the most important, the first and the foundation. But apart from that, to really transform the whole at higher level, we need to really a kind of network of this small flower. CSA is a beautiful small flower, but how can we make a bouquet and really transform the broken system of industrial food? And during the last 4 or 5 years, I have a chance to work with the national food program here in this country. So the question of the national level or at authority level become a challenge for me. But I'm rooted more than 20 years on the family of networking between farmer and as a consumer, and I still see that very important. But unfortunately, we cannot go that far in terms of we have only 5 groups, and each group, like our group, maximum is between 80 to 100 family of consumer. But it's a middle class level of people. Like when I heard the Teikei is a housewife who have high educated person. But if you go into at the lower middle income or even the urban poor or the poor people, they cannot afford the CSA. So you need another form that the direct link between the farmer and the consumer. That's why farmer markets, particularly the farmer market in the village, in the community, in the rural area, where other exchange form, not the CSA, so-called CSA but in this context, in the Thai rural context, or even Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, the same story. The farmer market in a sense of not farmer market of the USA or Beijing, but I mean the village farmer markets, the exchange, the barter system is still there. So I think cultural aspect is very important as well. CSA in the middle class, as I am, is not applicable and practical to the rural poor or even urban poor. So that's why we need other form. And when I went into the rural in order under the name of the food program policy, I found that the school network can work with the community farmer. And that, for me, I would like to identify this as a kind of institutional CSA. So when the farmer bring the organic vegetable to the school kid, because this their children in the village. In fact, if they sell their organic products to the department store, they may have higher income, but they choose to supply to school kitchen, a school meal, or hospital for patients that Rick says is a kind of healing. I think that is a sacrifice from farmer side, that they choose to grow for the school kids and the patient. And I think that that is beautiful. And we should have a policies to really enabling that they're not out of sacrifice of the farmer, but they should have certain kind of support. That what we are thinking, what is the enabling factor or infrastructure to facilitate more from this kind of working model. Yeah, but the CSA is quite demanding for people who have no, cannot afford it. That's why I said it can't work, but we have other kind of sharing, you know? Barter systems, barter trade is still there in our social capital. Yeah, and I think that that is a kind of spirituality as well for farmers who work with the school. They quite, I think that they're really devotion in my eyes. Yes.
Thank you, Walapa. We had a research in Germany many years ago about who buys in health food stores and who buys in the discounter, and it was found out it's, you know, it's not about poverty, it's not about how wealthy they are. You find the Mercedes-Benz in front of the Aldi discounter, and you find very poor people in the health food store. So what they found out, actually, it's a question of consciousness. And you may be right that, you know, middle class people are maybe more educated than very poor, like we have here in the Philippines. But I would think that's still worth researching, what it actually needs to get people involved in CSA. I believe it strongly has, of course, it has to do with money also. No, what can I afford? But we have here, for example, Jim Sharman, who has founded a Waldorf school where 2/3 of the parents of the kids are very poor households. They can pledge $1 per month to actually to contribute to the school, and it's still happening, no? So I think that's worth some research. Of course, there are different ways how to get to your food, and I think we have heard quite a bit of variety what can be done, and for sure it's not yet exploited. We have heard it's art, it's therapy, it's this and that, but what Hermann also mentioned, that the Japanese were actually inspired through the national economic course by Steiner. So it has a lot to do not just with agriculture, but it has to do with the changing of our economy. And I mean, why are poor people poor? Because there's something wrong with economy, no? So I think we really have to strongly do something with our economic system in order to enable education, good education, and via education also then again change systems. There's a lot still to talk. We're actually already over time. I don't know if there's a very big longing to still continue, but then we would still have to find an end. So I think it's most people are still here. Does anybody still have something very important to share right now? Yeah, please, Alice.
I just want to encourage everyone. There is so much need and so much opportunity for creativity. There is, you know, the models that have come into existence so far are just first attempts, but everyone needs to see what is possible where they are and how to bring people together where they are and what really works. The mutuality of our economy, the sister and brotherhood needs of our economy. It's really obvious. None of us have produced all the things that we see around us. Everything around us has been made available to us by someone else. So we're all completely connected economically amongst other ways. And we need to sort out social ways of interacting to support one another on the physical level. So there are many ways to do that and to support our cultural life. You're talking about gym in a Waldorf school. You know, there's no one way to do any of it. It's whatever people can agree to in their situation, and to come together and have the joy of being together and to sort through what is possible because we have the will to do it. So I'm so grateful that everyone has come to this conversation, and that I just send the very best of wishes to everyone for their work wherever they are. Thank you.
This could be a very great statement to end, but here is Helen and there's Jim. Please go ahead, Helen, first, maybe.
Thank you. I just let's say I see an announcement and say there's such a meeting, so I just take a look here. But what you are talking about is really interesting me. So about the let's say. What Alice just advised, that we need to do something creative, and here is my little, let's say, reflection. I just want to know all over after I heard all of what you have talked. So here's my question: what do you believe? I believe this is the beginning of creation. So yeah, if we just believe in successful farming, then I suppose we will go run into another loop of the capitalism story. If we just let's say want to be successful in this, then when let's say at once we get there, we are going definitely will let's say lose in the opposite way of our, let's say, behavior or what we are chasing. So we are not chasing that, of course, definitely, but was our, let's say, direction, or how could we, let's say, gather people in our group or community with what kind of belief and what kind of, let's say, attraction. So this is my question, actually.
Thanks, Helen. Thanks,
yeah,
Helen.
considering
we'll pass on to Jim. Thanks, Helen. Thank you very much. Go ahead, Jim, please. Thanks. We can't hear you, Jim. We can't hear you. You have to unmute.
Thank you. I just wanted to share briefly, very quickly, you know, this idea of an entry point. It's nice to see a mature initiative that has developed over a long period of time, and think that somehow we can just jump to this final form without going through intermediate stages. So it's echoing what others have shared, but finding the entry point. And I think it's interesting to look at how perhaps in Asia, I have a good friend that started the Cebu Farmers Market, and to see that as an entry point. it requires a certain framing to use this term entry point, because it means it's just the beginning and you're consciously moving it towards a certain direction. And I think for us, that direction is towards raising consciousness. It's towards educating both farmer, consumer, and it's towards building connections, as others have said. And I just, as a analogy, so I love that picture of a group of people coming together in a circle and supporting a farm by understanding the whole needs of the farm. And that was kind of a dream for how to fund a Waldorf school. Why don't we sit in a circle, talk about what the needs are, and fund it that way? But in our context, I would love to eventually arrive there, but I don't feel the consciousness of the community that's part of our school is ready to jump into that. So as an intermediate stage, we have a kind of a socialized tuition scheme where we meet each one where they are, but it's not a collective process where everyone voices out what they can contribute. So that's all I wanted to share, was just to see this progression and finding the entry point that pertains to the local situation. And I just wanted to thank Walter for bringing this together. Thank you.
Welcome. All right, no more very important sharings or questions.
Just a
Masa?
technical question, if I may. Oh, does Masa want to say something?
He looked
Oh,
like,
no.
okay, please, Ricardo.
Mine is just a technical question. Will you share the recording of this session?
Nope, but there will be. Chuithan inspired me. She started to take some notes, and she inspired me that we could come up with some minutes protocol or something. Maybe with the help of Chuithan, I will be able to do something. Let's see within the next 7 days if I can do something. Yeah. Or what is your suggestion, or what do you want, Ricardo, actually?
Oh, well, there's some aspects of this talk that I would like to basically listen to again.
Okay.
And the other thing would be to share this with some people that are very interested in the topic and couldn't be here today.
Okay. You have my email address. Let's talk about that via email, okay?
Absolutely. And finally, some people in here, I don't know if it will be possible to contact them if they're willing to share their contact. So if somebody has specific questions to a specific person, to contact them via email.
Again, that last one I didn't understand the way which you wanted.
Oh, so there's some people here that I would like to contact and ask specific questions, and I was wondering if it will be okay to get their email addresses for that purpose.
Well,
to contact them directly.
You mean you want to ask them now, or how will we do that?
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
It's just a general consensus if people are happy to receive questions, and because I think you probably have the email address that you sent to everyone.
Yeah, I don't have actually. As I said in the beginning, you know, there's quite a few people I don't know in here. That's why I also gave my address. So if ever, you know, people want to be in a next meeting, they, you know, and if they are not yet, if they haven't gotten an email of mine so far, they'd have to tell me. They'd have to write to my email address to be invited again, and not to just hear it by accident. And besides, you know, the World Goetheanum Association, I mean, we're trying to do work together. So there needs to be some kind of responsibility and sustainability, you know, in the circle. And so I have addresses of people who are partners, and I have addresses of people who are, you know, have joined in and are interested in the World Goetheanum Association. And those who want to join, they just have to write me an email or let me know that they're interested, right? So here's one address of Anne already, but you have to write me. I gave my address before, and I can give it again for those who came later. But that's still not answered. Your question not answered. No, can you say the names of those people that you want to contact?
Well, certainly Hermann is a person that comes to my mind straight away. I would like
Yeah,
to
I can
be.
give you the address of Hermann if he's okay, or you can just post it now.
I
Who
will
else?
write it in the chat.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay, who else, Ricardo?
There's quite a lot of people. I would have to look at. Don't worry.
Maybe you write me an email and then we'll find out. So
Okay.
those people who want to receive emails of mine or also questions from Ricardo, please email me and then we'll try to get connected.
And vice versa. If somebody wants to ask me something, of course.
Right. Okay.
Thank you.
Super. Thanks, Krishnendu. Thanks, everyone. It's always just a stopover, and inspiration carries us further. Thank you very much, Alice and Theo, Hermann, Balapa, also Patricia, and all the others who shared. And we will for sure meet again, hopefully, if nothing comes in between, with Wahida and also Krishnendu when the topic is India on the 31st of March. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Good night.
Goodbye. Walter.
Thank you.
Thanks, Walter.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night. Bye. Bye-bye. Bye. Good night. Thank you. Goodbye. Bye-bye to you. Bye. Bye. Bye.
B Young, I did not understand that. What do you mean if you could send a generic email? Yeah. Anyway, I'm writing, I have a list, but many people who are here today, like you, B, you are not in my list. So you'd have to write me.
Oh, I see. I'm wondering how I received your email in the first place.
You're right. I got your name from actually Sandeep.
Oh, great.
That's right.
Great.
Of course,
Yeah.
I know your name. So you will again, but I put in my email and also I said today, please write me, no? Anyway, yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
great.
but I will remember, I will write you again, B.
So basically what I meant is everybody has received